I'm in Isaiah tonight. I've been to Isaiah 3 times. The other week I was in Isaiah 43, and then I was back in Isaiah again, and I'm in Isaiah 55, and I want to read from the book of Isaiah. I seem to be stuck in the book of Isaiah. I'm in love with the book of Isaiah. It tells about Christ. It portrays Christ. It shows the goodness of God. It shows the mercy of God. Matter of fact, I felt like after Sunday morning's stabbing, beating, whipping post message that I beat everybody up with, especially myself. Uh, I left here and I told Lynn, I said, "Well, how did I do?" She said, "Well, um, you you did good, I reckon." I said, "Well, I reckon I did good then." Um, uh, how I've never been able to preach what I preach Sunday morning easy. Matter of fact, it's not an easy thing to deny yourself, to pick up your cross, and to follow Him. But we're talking about an everlasting covenant that God makes for us. And He's dealing with Israel, but He deals with us with that everlasting covenant. And also going to read, I'm going to interrupt this and read out of John chapter 7, verse 37, because Jesus is going to quote this right here. Isaiah 55, starting at verse 1. "Ho, everyone who thirsts, come to the water. You who have no money, come buy and eat. Yes, come buy wine and milk without money, without price." Did you get that? What'd you get? What'd you say? Everyone's welcome. I like what Stephen says. Everyone's welcome. But yeah, let's read it again. Uh, Everyone who's thirsty, come to the waters. Come who have no money, come and buy and eat. What'd you say? It don't cost you anything, but it says, we're going to read it again. Everyone who's thirsty, come to the water. You who have no money, you got it? You who have no money, come buy and eat. Huh? B-U-Y. That's an oxymoron. We're going to read it again. Come to the water, you who have no money. Come buy, eat. Yes, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. That's pretty cool. So what's it saying? If you've got money, it don't cost you anything. If you don't have any money, it don't cost you anything. In other words, there is no excuse if you don't drink or eat. If you don't drink or eat, it's your fault. There is absolutely no excuse if you don't have the wine to drink or you don't have the milk to drink. If you make an excuse, if you say you don't have anything, it's totally up to you, because if you make an excuse, it's only your excuse, because the offer is from Him without anything, without any excuse. All you've got to do is come. Now, John chapter 7, verse 37, on the last day of the feast, the great day, Jesus stood up and cried, "If anyone's thirsty, come, let him drink of me. And he's quoting out of Isaiah here. Look at verse 2. You spend money for that which is not bread, and your wages for that which does not satisfy. Boy, that's the truth. You ever bought something? You ever worked real hard and bought something, and after you get it, you wished you hadn't bought it? I got a true life story. Tim, I worked at Power Seafood, and I had established good credit, and Eric Young owned Suzuki of Gastonia. And I wanted a new RM 125 dirt bike. And I decided, seeing how I had good credit now and I was working, that I would go buy me a brand new RM 125 dirt bike. I was driving a dilapidated pickup truck. I was barely getting by financially, living in my grandfather's house, paying my grandmother rent, and struggling, paying a telephone bill and a power bill and getting by. And I decided, because I had good credit and I was working, that I'd go buy me a motorcycle. The payments were easy to make. Why'd you laugh, Stephen? They are never easy to make. So I decided that I would buy it. I drove it up in the back of the pickup truck. I got it in the back of the pickup truck. I started driving down the road, and as sure as I'm sitting on this stool, I looked in the rearview mirror at that motorcycle, and I looked at it, and I said these words, I hate you. What have I done? I rode the motorcycle for 3 days, took it back to Eric Young at the Suzuki dealership, and asked him what he would give me to buy the motorcycle back. He asked me why I wanted to sell the motorcycle back. And I told him these words. I got ahead of God. I didn't listen to what the Spirit of the Lord was telling me, and he made fun of me. He told me, what kind of God are you serving? My God wants me to have fun and enjoy life, and I don't know what kind of God you're serving. And he bought the motorcycle back for way, way less than I paid him for it. And I financed the rest of it and like to never paid it off. Hold on a second. You spend money for that which is not bread, and your wages for that which does not satisfy. Listen to me. Listen carefully to me. You eat which is good, and your soul delights in its abundance. Incline your ear to me and come to me and hear, and your soul shall live. In other words, God says there's something more important than the things that you drive, than the things that you wear, than the things that you eat, and that's the importance of your soul. And if you'll listen to me, your soul will be satisfied by having an encounter with me and me alone. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you and the sure mercies of David. Indeed, I have given him a witness to my people, a leader and a commander for my people. In other words, David said, God said to David, I will establish something with you. And I believe God still establishes covenants with people. I believe God still makes individual covenants with people. I believe that God makes covenants with me and you, that when we enter into a relationship with him, that he speaks certain things to us, and he tells us, if you'll listen to me, I will I will breathe on you. I will grant this to you. If you'll honor me, I'll do things in your life and I'll show you things. You know, I, I, I don't have any. I wish somebody would tell me about your covenant with God instead of me having to tell about my covenant, because when I entered into covenant relationship with God, God began to show me things, Teresa, that I'd go, "Are you sure about this?" And he'd go, "If you'll obey me, I promise you, this is what I'll do to you. This is how I'll bless you. This is what I'll do in multiplying you. This is what I'll do in keeping you. And if you'll obey me, I promise you that I'll satisfy you and your soul will be satisfied." And when God starts satisfying your soul, you'll be amazed at how other things begin to line up. You'll begin to You'll go to buy something and you'll be on the verge of buying it, and the next thing you'll know, you'll look at it and you'll go, "I don't need that." And the person will go, "Well, you're about to sign the contract." You'll go, "Yeah, but you know what? I just realized that I really don't need this, because I feel like if I do this, I'm really gonna stop God from blessing me the way God's wanting to bless me." We limit God by not keeping our covenant with Him. Covenant with Him says, "God, what do you want? How do you want to work? How do you want to move? How do you want to minister in my life?" Covenant with Him says, "God, you first, me second. Here's what you do, God." You, okay, I'll say it the way I've heard Spirit of the Lord check me 3 times to say it this way. "God, you first. Help me not to get ahead of you. Because if I get ahead of you, God, then I'm not trusting you in the way I ought to. I'm not letting you be my God. I'm not letting you work in the way that you want to work in my life." I mean, I, oh Lord, I'm not at a loss for words. I'm just struggling here, trying not to sound. Look here, verse 5. Surely, God says this, "Surely you shall call a nation that you do not know, a nation that you do not know, you shall run to, because of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you." In other words, God says, "I'll make something out of nothing." In other words, if you're in covenant with me, I create nothing, and bring something out of it. In other words, I know how to handle insignificant and make something great out of it. I, uh, Jesse called me the other day from Colorado, and he he had somebody just put him in a church building the other day, and he said, "I've not been doing nothing." And he said, "I went into a church building on Sunday night," and he said, "All of a sudden I got 38 people out of nowhere." He said, "Just 38 people showed up out of nowhere, and I don't understand where they come from. I don't understand what's going on." He said, I had 8 people in a little bitty building, and a man calls me up and says, "Would you like to enter into a relationship with me and my church. We don't have church on Sunday night, and I feel like just letting you go into my church building on Sunday night." Jesse said, what's the catch? He said, "There is no catch." He said, "There's got to be a catch." He said, "There is no catch." He said, "God just laid you on my heart. Do you want to go into the church building on Sunday night?" Jesse said, "I told God, God, if there's no catch, then you make something out of nothing." And he said, so the first Sunday night I was there was 30-something people. He said, out of the blue, 30-something people. I said, "How many people from that local church showed up?" He said, 2. I said, "What happened the next week?" He said, 2 from that local church. I said, "What happened the next week?" 2 from that local church. I said, "What's God doing?" He said, "I could not tell you." He said, "But all of a sudden, God has made something out of nothing. Simply because I've been faithful during the winter months and hold on to God." He said, "God told me to shut down everything, and I shut down everything." He said, "People told me, 'Why are you shutting it down?' He said, 'Because God told me to shut it down.' And he said, all of a sudden, God just gave birth to it. And he said, I didn't have to do nothing. He said, all I had to do was walk into a building, and God gave birth to it. God said, here, I'll give birth to it because why? I'm God." Can I say this? And you just take it for what it's worth. When God gets in the arrangement, hey, Donna, this will be for you and Mike. When God gets in the arrangement, hell can't stop it when God gives birth to it. How's that? Verse 6. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he's near. God said in verse 5, I will create nothing or something out of nothing. Verse 6, he said, seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he's near. Look at verse 7. Let the wicked forsake their ways. Let the unrighteous man his thoughts. Return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to your God, for he will abundantly pardon. God said, I'm gracious, I'm kind, I'm merciful. I want a covenant with you. I want to enter into a relationship with you. I want to bless you. You seek me while I'm near, I'm going to pour it out on you. I'm not going to withhold anything from you. I'm going to bless you more than you can handle. Well, I'm going to satisfy you, God said. I'm going to show you my goodness. If you're willing to listen to me in this covenant relationship, I'm going to pardon anything. Barbara, I'm glad I got a God that pardons me, because he knows I'm going to do stupid. How y'all doing? None of y'all are going to do stupid. But I'm glad. I am glad. What? I am glad I got a God that pardons me in my covenant relationship with him. This has been a pretty good week. You know, last Wednesday, I stood in here and said, I haven't heard God and I don't know when. Now, I left some people confused, because they said, how can he stand in here and say that he's not heard God and tell people stuff? I haven't heard God for myself. It's not that I don't hear God for other people. It's that I haven't heard God for myself. I can hear God for other people. I can believe God for other people. But when it comes down to me, it's a whole different ball of wax. I've been struggling but since last week, I've been hearing God again. It's like God's been speaking to me. Hey, Troy. I've been going, yes, sir. It's been like God's been speaking to me and going, "Do you getting this?" I'm going, "Yes, sir. Pay attention. All right, I am God." I mean, when he started, especially when he started speaking to me, you want to forsake? Yes, sir. You want to follow? Yes, sir. You want to deny? Yes, sir. I mean, when he started speaking to me real plain and clear, I started going, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm willing, Lord." So for the last, I don't know, I would say since last Wednesday, when I said it was really a struggle hearing God, it's been like God's been speaking to me, been dealing with my heart, been breathing on me again, been been opening up my spirit again, Barbara. Just been coming alive again, and I'm like, God, I'm like, yay. I, I I feel like my covenant is just strengthening and coming alive. Well, I'm sorry, I'm talking about me, but last week I said I couldn't hear him. This week I can't hear him. So look at here, verse 8. I'm trying to make sense of this tonight, and hope you're getting something out of it. Look at verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. And I'm glad God's thoughts are not my thoughts, nor are my ways your ways, says the Lord. I'm glad God's thoughts are not my thoughts. I mean, if his thoughts were my thoughts sometimes, hello, he's messed up. I'm glad his ways are not my ways. If his ways were my ways, oh God, what are, huh? Hello? Look what he says. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So, what's God's thought pattern? I tell you what God's thought pattern is. It's better than you've been thinking. What's God's ways for you? Better than they've been going. What's God's plan for you? Better than it's been. What's God's motive and desire for you? A whole lot better than it's been going and way it's been planned out. Because sometimes we run it amok. We get ahead of God and we try to play God and we try to work things out on our own, and God's going, hold on, slow down. Slow down. Get your head out of the game and let my thoughts season you. Let my thoughts permeate you. Now, you say, how do I know what God's thoughts are? I I have started doing something, and uh, I had somebody come by my house yesterday, and they told me since Sunday's message, uh, they weren't even at church. They listened to it online, and they said, I wanted to come by and tell you, since I listened to Sunday's message, I shut down my social media completely. I shut down Facebook. I shut down Instagram. I shut down Twitter, and I shut down something else. I decided that I would shut it all down. And I said, why did you shut it all down? And they said, because I considered that I would deny myself. And the only way I really could deny myself was to do that and and pick up my Bible. Because I was spending so much time on social media that I decided that I would pick up my Bible. And I said, it's strange, a couple of weeks ago, I decided that instead of spending time, I've not been on Facebook. Someone asked me, matter of fact, Donna asked me a month or so ago, "Hey, Pastor, I sent you a thing on Facebook to become a friend. I sent you a friend request." And I said, "Donna, I'm sorry. I've not accepted any friend requests, and I don't know when. And I I haven't, I go on Facebook and post a sermon every now and then, and that's all I do on there. I don't. If I go on Facebook, I think I go. What is it? Is it marketplace or something like that, where you go look at tractors and welders and stuff like that and see what kind of junk people are selling, and that's all I do. But I've stopped, and I've decided that what I would do is that I would get in God's thought pattern. And to get in God's thought pattern, you get back in His Word. Do you get that? To get in God's thought pattern, you get back in His Word. And you take it at face value. And to get in God's thought pattern, you let His Word permeate you. It's not what's permeating me from the outside of the world. It's what's permeating me from the spirit realm. It's what's speaking into me. It's what's attaching itself to me from God. That's how God comes alive. That's how the Spirit comes alive. That's how His thoughts become greater than my thoughts. That's how His ways become greater than my ways. It's by getting back in His Word and His Word getting back in me. And me start living back in His Word again by living back in His presence. And me making my covenant new with Him and making my relationship new with Him each day, not once a week, not on Sunday, not on Wednesday, but each day, renewing myself in my inward man. And by doing that, I applauded the person. I said, "Wow, I can't believe." They said, "Well, after your message, how could I not deny myself? How could I not pick up my cross? How can I not follow after Him?" Said, that's what the Word said. He said, denying yourself means denying yourself. And so look here, verse 10. I'm going down to verse 13, and we'll be done, and then we can go home. And for as the rain comes down from heaven and the snow from heaven, and do not return there, but water the earth and makes it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So, ready? Verse 11. So shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. Did you get that? My word. You know what it says also? That my covenant, the word is a covenant. So shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but it shall, say it shall, accomplish what I please. It shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it. Can I say what I feel in my spirit? I believe God sent out His word tonight in some way to us, and it's waiting on us. Waiting on the next flip of a page, waiting on the next prayer, waiting on the next devotion, waiting on the next thing that we open up our Bible, and all of a sudden it jumps out. And this is what it's going to be like. So goes forth my word out of my mouth. It won't return to me void. It will accomplish what I please, and it will prosper in the thing that I sent it to do. In other words, I got a feeling that God's got a word, a rhema, waiting on somebody, on a covenant person. And it's going to connect when you read it. And you're going to go, oh my God, that's my word. That's what I've been waiting on. God, thank you. I can stand on that. I can trust that. I cannot go into detail. I get in trouble, very much trouble. But when I gave my daughter 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, Sunday morning, little did I know that she would little did I know that yeah, little did I know she'd need it that quick. I thought it was for the house because their loan was their loan was off $40,000 and they weren't getting the money. But it had nothing to do with a loan. It had nothing to do with a loan. And God doesn't make mistakes. Verse 12. For you shall go out with joy, and you shall be led with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth into singing before you, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. I like verse 12. The hills, and you shall go out with joy. Somebody ought to walk out of here tonight with joy, just going, God, I stand on verse 11. There's a word in your mouth for me, God. There's a word in your mouth for me, God. Can I tell you, it's not how I started this sermon tonight, it's how we're going to finish. And we're going to finish on a God note here. I need to tell you, God's got a word in his mouth, in his rhema mouth for somebody. And it won't return to him void. It will accomplish what it pleases. And it's going to prosper in the thing that he sends it to do. You hear me? And you're going to go out with joy. And you're going to be led with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth into singing before you, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And verse 13 is where we're closing, because that's the last verse of this chapter. And instead of thorns shall come up cypress trees. I'll take cypress trees over thorns any day. And instead of briars shall come up myrtle trees. I'll take myrtle trees any day over briars. And it shall be to the Lord for a name, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. In other words, what can stop me? What can stop my God? What can hinder my God? What, huh? Fred said nothing. The guy that's got his seat back there that nobody can take. Nothing. Nothing. Why? Because my covenant's established with God. My covenant's not established with you. My covenant's established with somebody stronger than you. Your covenant's established with somebody stronger than me. Your covenant is established with somebody that can't fail. Your covenant is established with somebody that doesn't slumber, doesn't sleep, doesn't get tired, doesn't grow weary, doesn't run when the heat gets turned on, doesn't know how to give up or give in. All he knows how to do is stand. Stand strong, stand sure. He knows how to give you peace, knows how to cause singing to take place, rejoicing to take place, and give you hope in the middle of sorrow. Knows that when the answer is no, that there's a yes despite it. And knows when the no is no, that the no is greater than the yes could have ever been. I don't understand it. I can't comprehend it. I just know that instead of the bad things, the briars and the thorns, he promises prosperity. He promises trees. He promises shade. He promises rest. And he promises never to fail and never forsake and never to leave and never to give up. And those are the things that I rejoice in tonight. It is the fact that my God that I serve, that we serve, is more than sufficient for what we're facing or going through. And I rejoice in that. Meet me at this altar. Let's meet at the altar. Let's thank him. Let's thank him for an